Well, Razorback fans, fall camp is about to start up, but some basketball news has come out with Eric Musselman meeting with the media for the last time of summer workouts. So let's talk about some of the things he had to say on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, and I apologize for the delay on today's podcast, but I had the countdown to kickoff event last night that kind of put me a little behind, and today's actually my day off from radio, so kind of all worked out. But either way, we're going to be back on schedule tomorrow, though, for the podcast, so expect that to be out tomorrow morning because we'll get a chance to hear from Sam Pittman as well as Ben Souders getting ready for fall camp. But basketball is something that's on the forefront of some people's minds after Eric Musselman and a few players got to meet with the media yesterday officially and closing up summer workouts, kind of getting an idea of what to expect and how things are going right now. And honestly, if you haven't had a chance to watch the entire press conference, just go over to YouTube and look up Pig Trail Nation. They always do a great job. In fact, some of the audio and videos that I'm going to use for this are coming from Pig Trail Nation, so I want to make sure I give them credit. But they put up, the video of the Musselman, I think, talked for 25, 30 minutes, something to that nature, and then the players, 15 minutes. But it was just really enlightening because, again, it's basketball season. We'll be here before we know it, and there's excitement surrounding it. And, people just always been wondering about what's going on and how everything's going and making sure it's all good to go. And yesterday, Eric Musselman talked about the summer workouts themselves and just how they've been going and how he feels about it and just the overall vibe of what the team's giving him right now.
Really coachable group. And I'll give you an example. L. Ellis was really quiet. Did his own, was doing what he should do as an individual. I don't know if I've seen a player change so quickly in his leadership, his verbal command of the floor. Been really cool to see in a very short period of time. And then the other guy, like Jalen Graham's practice habits are dramatically different than last year. Dramatically. He's done an incredible job of understanding expectations and then following through on his part. So there's been some evolving even this summer, but that's been one thing, Curtis. It's really been cool to see is Graham's evolution and how L has really picked up what our expectations are and how we try to conduct practice and how talking and verbalization is really important on the court for us. And we
So you got to get a little bit of excitement when you ever hear Eric Musselman talking about how well things have been going with summer workouts. And it's amazing to me to think about the progress that they've made just so far of once they got the roster finalized, once they try to figure things out of how it was all going to play out for them. And now knowing where they're at right now, you like the confidence. And especially considering how many veterans that you have on this basketball team, it gives you a great feeling of things to come. And I think Musselman, I don't know if he said it later in the press conference, but he's talked about the fact that there hasn't really been any bad practices except for maybe one that he can think about. Says that they have transitioned really well. They're very coachable. This entire team's very coachable. They've responded really well. They're working their way back into the system. They've gotten a lot more vocal, even though some of them were a little less talkative in the beginning, but then they became a little bit more of a leadership role. And it's just stuff like that you hear, and it gets you excited. And it gets you feeling like, okay, we already felt good about this season, but if Muss who's been doing this for a long time, mind you, and has had some great success in college basketball and has been around a lot of great teams of a lot of different types of players, if he's saying this during the summer workouts alone, that's got to get you hyped up. Like there's been some things that even last year, if you go back and listen to some of the sound bites and some of the things that Muss had to say, it wasn't that he was insulting the team that he had, but you could tell that there was we're still young, we're still working on things, we're still trying to figure things out. We'll see how it goes, blah, blah, blah. And now this year, it's like, hey, Their conditioning's great. They're very coachable. They're becoming vocal. They're coming together as a team. I like the attitude that they have and the overall vibe that they have when they come in, and they've come from some really good basketball teams and programs. It's just very complimentary and the things you want to hear if you're going to try to take that next step into the stratosphere of making it to a Final Four, which I think is Arkansas's number one goal right now, or at least getting to compete for a national championship in the NCAA tournament. Feels great about that, and I love the fact that Muss went into such detail about it. But also, one of the things I know people have been very interested in is not only the players that have been transferring in, but also the two freshmen with Bay Fall and Layden Blocker. Bay Fall is on the team. I know that was always a huge thing that people were always discussing, like whether or not he's on the team or not. But Muss went into really great detail about Bay Fall and about Layden Blocker and just their overall abilities so far in summer workouts and the type of basketball players that they're at right now and things that they need to work on.
We've already talked a lot about the veterans on the group. Just curious what you've seen from your freshmen, Layden and Bay, so far, and how they've kind of acclimated themselves to the team.
Yep, great question. I mean, Bay got here a little bit later than some of the other guys. He's a very, very hard worker. Spends a lot of time on his own. Surprisingly, can make threes. At a much higher clip. Got to continue to work on hands. Catching the ball in traffic is an area that we want to continue to work with him on. And he's going to, because he's a freshman, he's going to play a little bit catch up on understanding as we add stuff. And again, he came late, so I think anybody that isn't here when some of the foundation stuff has been put in, you're playing catch up, and certainly, he falls into that. And then, Layden he's got a very mature approach to how he conducts. I don't know if I've been around, a player his age who comes in pre-practice and goes into the weight room and starts stretching, and getting himself mentally ready to practice, not play, but to practice. So he's mature beyond what his age is, and he's a good leader on the floor, and he's got point guard characteristics for sure.
So Eric Musselman talking about those true freshmen, and the one thing I thought that really stood out is about Bay Fall and saying he's shooting threes. So it's like, okay, well, that'd be nice to have an element to that game if he's able to continue on and to get better each and every time out and get better throughout practice and everything. If he can start making some threes, it's really going to excite some people for all the right reasons. But overall, I think that those two guys coming into the situation that they're in is honestly a better thing than maybe what other freshmen would truly walk into, even in last year. Bay Fall being a bona fide 5-star player, a McDonald's All-American, he's not having to be counted on to carry the team this year. Like, it's not like, okay, Bay, you got to come in and you better live up to the expectation. You better average 16 and 8 every single game if we're going to be successful. And some kids can do that and adhere to that and be that type of player. Some can, but not all. It's a much more difficult thing than what people realize. And I think for somebody like Bay Fall, he's walking into a situation to where he's surrounded by veteran guys, a lot of highly talented guys, even guys at his position and his type of style that will more than likely be playing in front of him. In fact, I would be shocked, and it's not a negative thing, I'd be shocked if Bay Fall ended up starting in the first half of the season at all for Arkansas due to the fact that they just have so much talent in front of him. Now, if they do just trying to mix it up and trying to get him involved, then obviously that's the case. But I'm talking about being the perennial starter. I would be surprised. And it's just because of how much talent is there. You got Trevin Brazil. That's going to be the main guy on this team. We know Jalen Graham's been really improving. In fact, that's nothing that Eric Musselman said about Jalen Graham is he's been practicing. It's like night and day last year to this year, how he's approaching practice and how much he's putting into the effort, which is something you love to see a guy like him who not only came back for another year, but wants to put in the work knowing it's his final hurrah and dealing with it. Like, these are the things that is going to really help Bay Fall and making him adjustments. So it's like, okay, hey, listen, we're doing good. We're in a good position. Come into the game and give a spell to Trevin Brazil. Come in and just help out a little bit, ease into that role, and then he ends up being in a great position. So I love the fact that that's what Muss really broke into as far as the players and what they're looking at and how the summer workouts are going. And we'll talk about the schedule because he had some thoughts on the Purdue Duke games, especially here at Arkansas. But folks, I tell you, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the best access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. We've all had people that have gotten jobs, I am sure, that are listening to this podcast through LinkedIn. I have friends of mine that they got their dream job, or at least in any case, a much better job because of LinkedIn and who they were and where their skill set was at. It is a website that works every single time when it comes to not only you getting a better job, but you as a business owner hiring the best and most qualified candidates. So check them out today. Just go over to linkedinjobs.com/lockedoncollege because they help you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, moving into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. This is a fun time for Razorback basketball, too, because, again, we know about how the schedule has been going for Arkansas so far and some of the marquee games that they have specifically against Purdue in the non-conference slate or in the exhibition slate, and then Duke in the non-conference slate, all those games being played at Bud Walton. You got the Atlantis. Like, it's incredible to show that the more that you become a great program, the more teams want to play you. And that's where Arkansas is finding themselves at. And Eric Musselman, of course, understands that. And he got to go into a really interesting process of not only playing Purdue, but playing Duke and the scheduling and the programs at. And it's a little bit of a longer clip, but I think it's worth getting its entirety about Eric Musselman talking about it. And just you can tell he knows where the program's at and how much respect that his program is getting here at Arkansas.
Yeah, well, I think Purdue, that game in particular, like they had a choice of probably doing that game with a lot of people. And I think that, Coach Painter and his staff understand that, Bud Walton is a unique place to play. And I'm really hopeful that our fans across the state understand the significance of getting a team like this for an exhibition, because there's not a lot of exhibition games that are being played against Division I teams. And so we're doing something unique. We're doing something that, you're putting it all out there really quickly. You're auditioning in front of a lot of people. There's a little bit more opinions are going to be formed during that game, after that game, than if you play a Division II team. So credit to Purdue for being willing to play a road game. Credit to them to be willing to play a quality opponent, and same thing from us. Like they've proven a lot more than we have with who they have coming back. So, and then the Duke game. Look, Bud Walton was going to be sold out, regardless of what our schedule looked like across the board. But the 4 years that I've been here, I would anticipate that the Duke game is going to be like, when we played Kentucky and when we've played Auburn and they've been ranked very high. I know that the requests, that I've gotten from friends. I was talking to Phil Nevin last night, the Angels manager. He's coming to that game. Like, there's a lot of people that want to come to that particular game too, which is, you look at our schedule with the 3 Bahama games at the Battle of Atlantis, and then you look at, Oklahoma, and you look at Duke. That's going to be as 5 challenging games as this program's ever played, non-conference. And we'll figure out ways to get better after playing those 5 games too, because we're going to find some holes in our team for sure, with a lot of new guys playing that quality opponent. We know Duke will come in here 1, 2, or 3 as well. So between the Purdue game and the Duke game, we'll probably play 2 of the top 3 teams in the country in a 4-week span.
So there was Eric Musselman talking about the games with Duke and Purdue. And it's funny to me because I'm like, if you took out all the longest answers that he gave throughout his press conference, that was the longest. Talking about those teams coming to Bud Walton Arena and what it means. And I find it so funny that he also talks about the fans and Bud Walton Arena being such a special place to play. I think everybody in college basketball, at least people who are worth their salt in college basketball, know about Bud Walton Arena and about the difficulty it is to win there and the type of mentality that comes with the teams that play there and the energy that it provides. And so to hear him talk about other coaches and other programs that know about Bud Walton Arena and want to agree to play in Bud Walton Arena really showcases just how good they have it and how good of a situation they find themselves in. But the thing is that the fans are going to show up to this game. Now, I know that tickets went on sale for the Purdue game yesterday, and I don't know if there's been an official number that's been put out there, but I think it's $20 a ticket, and I believe there's going to be 19,000 people there, like 100%. There's going to be at least 19,000 people there. And it's on a Saturday. It's Purdue. It's a top 10 team. And you're going to have the reigning player of the year being there with Edey. So it's that level. It's that level of a program that you're at where you have teams interested in doing this and want to agree to do this. Now, the Duke game itself was just the ACC SEC challenge. So it's not like Arkansas and Duke agreed to it. But it was something to where both programs kind of understand that, hey, these are two high-level basketball programs that have high-level traditions and have history even. And so to take it to that perspective and look at it as, hey, this is a matchup that everybody wants to see and wants to be a part of, it's again showing the product that you're putting out and the program that you have. So I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that Muss is excited about it, and I can't wait to see what the schedule is going to look like for years to come under Arkansas. Because who knows, maybe they'll continue to add some big-time teams in Bud Walton or on the road. Maybe they'll go to Cameron Indoor. Maybe they'll go to Fog Allen, something like that. I think that'd be really cool, but I can't wait to see what happens. All right, so that's basketball, but we will talk Wolf football, though, on the other side. But first, I got to tell you, though, folks, about this episode being brought to you by Markel. From Fayetteville to El Dorado and everywhere in between, Markel has been helping Arkansas small business communities for over 30 years. Markel is a global specialty insurer with a truly people-first approach, and to them, insurance is more than just a piece of paper. It's a promise to help get people back on their feet. We spend a third of our lives working, so on-the-job injuries can be expected. You work hard to build your business, so it's important to make sure that you and your employees have the right insurance coverage. Whether you're new to the business or celebrating your 25th year anniversary, whether you have 1 employee or 1,000 employees, Markel aims to understand your workers' compensation insurance needs. So find a local independent agent to get a free workers' compensation insurance quote today at markelinsurance.com/lockedon. That's MARKEL insurance.com/lockedon. Markel, insuring America's small businesses since 1930. Insurance carrier, coverage, dividends, and services availability may vary by state. Markel is a registered trademark of Markel Group, Incorporated.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. A little football, because again, tomorrow's podcast will have more about what's going to go on. Sam Pittman will be able to meet with the media and tell us a lot more. But what's going on with the football program? Well, here's what's going on. How about KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders landing on the Maxwell Award preseason watch list? All right, how about Bo Limmer being named on the Outland Trophy preseason watch list? How about Dwight McLaughlin being named to the Bronco Nagurski Trophy preseason watch list? You know what I really hate? I really hate watch list. Like, I make a joke about it on Twitter every year where I say that I am on the Arkansas Sportscaster of the Year award watch list. Because that's essentially how much it means. I'm not going to win that award. And if I ever do win that award, something happened. Like somebody screwed up. But it's like everybody gets named to this that's even something. And it's like, what does that mean, though? I mean, you're talking about like 50 players get named to this watch list. And he played a snap this season. And I get it's for graphics, it's for content, it's for marketing, it's for promotion. And I'm sure the players love it and the players get mentioned and everything. Like, I'm sure that element about it is worth it to some. I do not care. I think the watch list awards things are dumb, even more dumb, and this is saying something, more dumb than the preseason rankings or the predicted order of finish. I think they are dumber than that, because at least with those things, you're talking about specific teams and everyone voting on those specific teams of where they're going to be ranked. And same thing with the preseason, like AP poll or whatever. It's like, you know where these teams are going to be ranked. If they would have ranked the watch list members, say like who's the most likely, then I would even appreciate that. But it's not even that. It's just like, here's a bunch of names. All right, watch list award. Well, why? Well, they were pretty good last year. So be on the lookout for them. They may do something this year. Yeah, we all know that. Like, we know that. And there's no reason to make a watch list of especially when it's so many players and you don't even rank them. I think it's dumb. But congrats for being on the watch list. We're going to be watching you. We got you on a list, and we're watching you for the award that, you probably won't win, but you could, because we're watching you. And we're going to be on the lookout just in case you do good. And then we'll get you the award. Maybe. We'll see. Probably not, but possibly. That's all it is. Whatever. I need real football content. Give me practice reports. That's what I want. Can't wait and start to happen here soon. I think Friday or whatever is the first official day of camp. Just please get us to that point, because, man, this type of stuff is just killing me. I just made 2 fart noises in one segment. I apologize for everybody. Anyways, good way to end it. Appreciate everybody listening into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.